guys, this is Gavin Michelli coming at you with a process video here. And this is just me, this is a character design that I was working on. Decided to record it and show you guys. And this came about, I was discussing with a friend of mine some of the virtues and vices of the Arrow TV show. You know, some of the things I would do differently if I wasn't just a fan with too many opinions. And I thought, why not do some character designs and show the peeps what I would do differently. So this is Black Canary. You can see when I zoom out, I've already done Green Arrow, and I kind of based him on one of my favorite movies of all time, Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves. I know you can all groan. It's fine. I don't mind your judgment. But definitely one of my personal favorites, one of my childhood favorites, and I kind of gave him that suit, that look, with the neck, chest piece, and whatnot. And fun fact, for those of you who didn't know, whenever Kenner made their Robin Hood action figures, the base for the figure was the Superpowers Green Arrow. So ever since I found that out, I realized that, when I was younger, and ever since then those two have been kind of connected in my mind, which I guess Robin Hood and Green Arrow are definitely connected. Anyway, we're not talking about Ollie here, we're talking about Dinah. Yes, Dinah Lance, not Laurel Lance. Dinah Lance. Anyway, I felt like her classic look was definitely missing in the show. And if I were to do an animated series like these designs show, I would kind of take more cues from that classic look. And the big cue from the classic look that should always be present in a Black Canary design is obviously the fishnets. Because, it doesn't look like Black Canary unless she has the fishnets. Duh. But, the trick is, you don't want her to look like a trollop or a prostitute, right? How do you go about giving her fishnets and, still keeping her decent? Well, I figured I'd give her kind of a metalhead biker sort of look, which kind of fits with her personality. She's a little bit of a daredevil, even though, as those of you who follow the comics know, she's a daredevil. She likes to take risks, but she also has kind of a heart of gold and, a lot of empathy, which, doesn't go against the whole metal chick thing. So, instead of her weirdo blue jacket with the black superhero onesie, I kind of gave her, I guess you'd call it a blue jean jacket, leather jacket, hoodie, three-way mix. Like one of those jackets that has the leather sleeves and the jean for the chest, and it's got a yellow hoodie, kind of 80s metal inspired or punk rock inspired, whatever. But definitely that vibe, and that kind of makes the fishnets a little more plausible. With, say, leather hot pants is kind of what I gave her. And the combat boots, definitely more of a punk rock metal chick vibe. But I didn't want to do a lot of rendering on this. So you see it's a lot of flat colors, all the lines are one weight, a size 4 for those of you who are interested. And that's, I wanted to purely concentrate on the design aspect of these guys. If, say, I were designing for an animated series, animation doesn't use a lot of line weights the way comic book art does. It's just one line weight, and that is, for ease of animation. You don't want to have all these varied thins and thicks and all this if you're trying to animate a character. So, one line weight. And coloring in flats is actually deceptively difficult. As you can see, I'm struggling right here a little bit to find that perfect tone of yellow. I mean, you can't just go for generic skin tone. Like you actually kind of can do that when you're rendering. You know, you pick your flat, regular skin tone, and you just shade it until it looks nice. But for flat colors, there is no shading until it looks nice. You have to pick the right color the first time. Well, not really the first time. You can, I mean, as you saw, as you're seeing, you can replace infinitely when you're working digitally. But, you know, that final version, that has to be the right color. You can't just stumble on it. It has to be a conscious choice. I've always been able to appreciate guys like is it Dave Stevens? Oh, forget his name. Dave Stewart. Dave Stewart is the colorist. That guy, he can just pick the perfect color all the time. And he can render it or he cannot. Doesn't matter. It's perfect every time. Yeah, I guess I can talk a little bit about what I would actually do differently in Arrow. You're looking at these designs here. It was spawned by a discussion of the Arrow TV series, and I feel like it's kind of, in some places it is a little like Batman the series, but with a bow and arrow. And if you've read any Green Arrow comics, you know he's not Batman. He and Batman actually, they team up quite a bit, and they're very different characters. Ollie is definitely much more spirited than Batman. He has quips. He has jokes, but he's also very passionate about his ideals in a way that really Batman isn't. Batman just, you know, he stops his supervillains, but as far as the sense of right and wrong, it's definitely not as outrage based as Green Arrow, and that can get Ollie into trouble sometimes. It's one of the fun parts of his character. He's not always right, but he's always trying to do the right thing. And I guess that they followed the trying to do the right thing part in the series, but he doesn't quip. You know, he's not the lighthearted character. Well, not necessarily lighthearted, but, you know, he has jokes, he has sarcasm. I feel like Smallville definitely got that right a little more than the Arrow TV show. I loved Smallville's Green Arrow. And actually, their Black Canary was pretty good, too. That was actually the first time I'd ever seen makeup used instead of the mask. And I've always thought that was cool. But for this Black Canary, yeah, I think Sarah Lance was definitely closer to Black Canary than Laurel. But neither one really, I mean, had that mix of heart and badassness that Black Canary has. For those of you who've ever watched Young Justice, that's pretty much spot on Black Canary. Actually, Young Justice is pretty much spot on everything Probably my favorite animated TV show. One of my favorite TV shows, period. Awesome designs by, I think, Phil Barassa. Amazing artist. Oh, this is me doing my research. Probably should have done this from the beginning. But this is me looking up to see, you can see clearly that classic Black Canary look. And I actually like to do this. I like to do a little Googling, a little research, and then just pop those images directly onto my canvas so I can have them there for instant reference. And you can see how the silhouette is similar to the classic look. I don't think that's the original Black Canary look, but it is the classic one. And that's a Bruce Timm drawing of her. Bruce Timm's a sucker for fishnets, I'm pretty sure. But that was I felt a pretty good representation of her classic look with the blue coat, and something that I could work from and get the color blocks kind of aligned, make it evocative of that classic look while being its own thing. I guess right here I'm just, oh, all these errors. These gray lines I'm doing, this is a pretty common thing in animation, having a solid black with colored holding lines, or colored holding lines in general, are pretty common, especially in those 90s Disney movies. If you ever notice, they rarely use straight black lines like they do in earlier Disney movies. They color those lines. And I think I did look up one of those jean jacket things and saw that they have a lot of them have the zippers on the leather part, so I added the zippers. You know, I'm definitely a fan of costumes that deviate from reality, but it definitely doesn't hurt to look your subject matter up before you start deviating. That goes for anatomy too. A lot of people they just draw from what they see in cartoons or in comic books or anime or whatever, and you want to learn your anatomy from life drawing before you start looking at stylized anatomy. Yeah, I'm a big fan of research. Internet research or books, whether you're talking about anatomy and life drawing or materials for costumes, doesn't matter. It never hurts to know a little extra, in my opinion. And there's them hot pants. She's got some, what do you call those things? Knee braces. Compression sleeves on her knees. Gotta take care of those knees, you know. They don't last forever. I guess this is as good of a time as any to mention a Kickstarter for a book that I just finished working on. I did I colored, or painted really, the cover and did the logo and type work. It's called Amandatory, features the art of Amanda Rachels, a frequent collaborator of mine, wonderful lady. and very talented artist. And it is on Kickstarter right now. And just go to Kickstarter, type in Amanda Torre, should come up. And if you pledge, you'll like it. I promise you. It's from Inverse Press. These guys have done like 17 Kickstarter campaigns. The material is finished before they start the Kickstarter. So there's no risk involved. You get tons of cool merch whenever you order. It's worth checking out, you know. But back to business. Back to drawing. Finishing off them hot pants. I feel like that wasn't a bad option. I mean, as you can see, she's kind of wearing a Playboy bunny outfit underneath that blue jacket. But I opted for the corset and the hot pants just because it's kind of a goth metal look. Definitely not to suck in her stomach. That's not what the corset's for. It's just kind of for her to look badass. But really not dissimilar from the sports bra and wrestling pants that the chicks in MMA wear. If you ever seen Ronda Rousey or Misha Tate or Gina Carano, any one of those chicks fight, they wear something not dissimilar. And actually, I'm adding MMA gloves to her as well, to kind of maybe she studies MMA a little bit. She was in the comics. She's trained under Wildcat, and Wildcat is a retired boxer. So, you know, maybe she took her studies from there, MMA a little bit. Contrary to popular belief, those gloves, that a little less so in boxing, but more in MMA, those gloves are not to protect your opponent's face. They are to protect your knuckles. Whenever you punching someone in the skull is very it's tough on your hand. You have a lot of little bones in the top of your hand and that connect to your knuckles, and of course your phalanges. Lots of little tendons and ligaments in there. So those little 4-ounce gloves that MMA fighters wear, that's to protect their knuckles so they don't constantly break their hands during fights. And a lot of them actually still break their hands a lot during fights. Uriah Faber's kind of famous for it, breaking his hands in every fight. And one fight he actually, I mean, he might have done this in more than one fight, but one fight he broke both of his hands, and he continued fighting using his elbows. Just stopped throwing punches and just threw elbows the rest of the fight. I mean, not particularly smart health-wise, but, I mean, give it up to the guy for guts. And here I am doing I think at this point, I'm making the call to do MMA gloves on her. And I mean, maybe she takes that gel out and puts, sand or something in it, something hard. Add a little bit to those punches, but mostly it would be really it's for style. I mean, come on, let's be honest, they look cool. But from a practical standpoint, you got to protect your hands when you're in a fight. And I would imagine Green Arrow, maybe he's got some finger protection in those long gloves of his. But I see Dinah as more of a brawler than Ollie. Ollie's definitely, I mean, he's got the arrows. He's going for long distance. Whereas Dinah's in there. She's got her canary cry, but she is a fighter. She's a brawler. So she's ready to stand or ready to take it to the ground. And they gave her some combat boot-looking boots. Some steel toes in there. I can say that I did not research those boots the way I did some other items in the costume. Don't judge me. Giving her a little, decided to give her a hole in the hose. Something a little different. Why not? And actually, as you can see, I'm being pretty loose with that hatching. It's on a separate layer, so I'm not affecting the rest of the drawing. And just go back and clean it up, erase, and it's still all one line weight. Although I'm pretty sure if I was actually working on a show for animation, unless it was part CG, they would not be happy with having to animate fishnets. Usually patterns like that, fishnets, tattoos, that kind of thing. That's something that is added by a computer, if at all. Again, if you look at Young Justice, they went with, I think, she just had purple legs to kind of suggest. If you're interested in taking a closer look, I've already posted this on my DeviantArt site. It's gavinmichelli.deviantart.com. If you're interested in taking a look at that, I'll go ahead and put a link in the description as well. Just in case you're listening to this with the volume muted, so you don't have to listen to my voice. It's understandable. And I don't actually have a video for Ollie. Honestly, I didn't know if this whole process would work out for me. So Ollie was a little more experimental, and then when I had a little bit of a technique going, I brought that technique over to Dinah. And I was confident enough with that technique to make a video recording at that point. And hopefully I'll get around to doing the whole cast. I need to do, Oliver Queen. And the plan is to kind of, I'm thinking that facial hair is probably going to be fake. Like, just an extension of his mask almost. He just puts on fake facial hair. Because really, if Oliver Queen himself had goofy facial hair like Green Arrow, like how could you not connect that? It's one thing. Clark Kent and his glasses are one thing, but geez. So I got to do Ollie. I've got to do Speedy. I got to do Merlin. I don't know if I'm gonna do the Malcolm Merlin version from the show, or I think his name is Arthur King in the comics, and he's like a circus performer gone bad or something. I don't know. I think there have been a few different versions of Merlin in the comics. But I know that in every carnation he has sort of like Wolverine hair. Let's see, who else can I do? I got Merlin, Speedy, Ollie, Canary, maybe Count Vertigo? That'd be a cool one. I don't know if you guys have ever seen that Green Arrow short. I think it came with the animated movie. I think it was Superman Shazam, which is also a great movie, by the way. I'm pretty sure it was directed by Joaquin Dos Santos. Freaking awesome. For those of you who don't know Joaquin Dos Santos, he did Avatar, I think, or he was part of the staff on Avatar. So I mean, the fight scenes are incredible. And I don't know if he actually did the Green Arrow short that came with that movie. It was just an extra feature. And it was awesome. But in that one, Merlin and Count Vertigo both show up. And they both look pretty cool. They definitely took some liberties with Merlin. Well, with all the characters, but definitely with Merlin on the show. And Count Vertigo. Count Vertigo is actually supposed to be more like a Doctor Doom type dude. Like he's an actual monarch. He's got a big long green cape. Well, if you've seen Young Justice, you've seen Count Vertigo. But I think in Arrow, as I recall, he was a drug dealer. A little bit of a waste, honestly. There were a few missed opportunities in Arrow for sure. Of course, there are some things they did a really good job with. Like I really like the separation of Speedy and Red Arrow into two separate characters. That was pretty cool. And it keeps you guessing. I don't know if I would do that in my little animated pretend show. Yeah, I think Speedy's just going to be Roy Harper in mine. Maybe I'll go with a younger Speedy. Kind of like Teen Titans. It seems like I'm wrapping up these designs a little bit. Sort of coming to the end here. Just a couple of minutes left. So, let's see. What haven't I said? Make sure to check out gavinmichelleart.com, my website, my online portfolio. I've already mentioned my DeviantArt site. Check me out on TeePublic. Pretty sure my username is gavinmichelleart on there too. Lots of cool merch for sale. My Patreon page has officially shut down, so don't bother checking for me on Patreon. Wasn't really working out for me. But, and I've always got stuff on eBay. So thanks guys for tuning in, for listening to me babble on, checking out this video. And I hope it's been helpful, or at least a little bit inspirational for you. So, thanks guys, and take it easy.